The Moneylender and His Wife by Quentin Matsys. A Renaissance scene where a financier weighs gold while his wife's attention drifts from a book of devotion to the glitter of coins. This 16th century painting captures a quiet warning, the shiny allure of money distracting a soul from faith. In the image, the wife paused her reading of a sacred book and gazed at her husband's pile of jewels and gold. Around them, ordinary objects carry heavy symbolism. A snuffed-out candle and half-eaten fruit signaled the brevity of life, that all wealth and flesh turn to dust. A delicate carafe of water represents purity untouched, while in the foreground a small wooden box lies open, a place where faith has retired. In other words, their religious faith has been tucked away in a box, replaced by the new idol on the table. 5 centuries ago, artists like Matsys already cautioned how easily money could seduce us away from spiritual ideals. Today, that cautionary scene feels more relevant than ever. The painting's couple could be us, transfixed by the glow of a smartphone stock ticker or a pile of cash, or our higher aspirations and deeper values quietly pushed aside. We have, in a very real sense, let money become the new god, commanding our attention, our desire, and our devotion. In ancient times, people erected temples and prayed to rain gods, sun gods, and idols for prosperity. Now, across cultures and continents, one deity reigns supreme: money. We don't call it God, but our collective behavior tells us a different story. In God we trust is printed on the US dollar, yet it's truly the dollar in which we trust. Throughout history, the link between money and divinity was literal. Early civilizations often kept wealth in temples. In fact, religious temples became the first banks, trusted as safe places to store gold and silver, even lending money at interest much just like modern banks do. That tradition lives on in our language and our cityscapes. The symbolism is hard to miss. The temples of old have been supplanted by temples of commerce. Money has ascended the throne vacated by the gods and demands our faith. As even the Bible stated, no one can serve 2 masters. You cannot serve both God and money. Yet modern society relentlessly tries, bending every aspect of life to the service of monetary gain. Banks are our new sanctuaries, the places we entrust with our greatest hopes and fears. The market has its high priests and oracles, economists and financiers whose predictions we hang on like ancient prophets' utterances. Our culture has effectively built a new religion around wealth, even if we don't realize we're genuflecting. If money is the new god, then work is its daily prayer. Think about how we start each day. Millions rush out the door like congregants late for service, commuting to offices in a faithful ritual of clocking in. We sacrifice our time, the most precious commodity of life, at the altar of productivity. The secular liturgy is the relentless hustle. Late nights, early mornings, the grind celebrated as virtue. Busy is worn as a badge of honor, like a devout person wearing masks of piety. We perform rituals to appease this god, swiping our credit cards, checking our bank balances, monitoring stocks with near-religious fever. In this new religion, time is both currency and offering. We trade hours of our lives in exchange for tokens of value, green paper or digital bits, hoping our sacrifice will be rewarded. The tragedy is when these rituals become empty, when we're grinding so hard in service of money that we forget to ask why we even started in the first place. Like the woman in Matsys' painting, we get distracted from the nourishes the spirit, caught in the spell of shiny coins. Every religion offers a concept of heaven and hell, and the religion of money is no different. Heaven is often promised as the future bliss in exchange for present devotion. In modern life, that distant paradise is retirement. We're taught to imagine a golden age in our twilight years, finally free from work, enjoying life on a beach or golfing without a care. Retirement is the new heaven. In other words, work hard, obey the rules of the economy, and salvation awaits you at 65. This vision keeps many grinding through decades of toil, postponing joy and rest until I've made it. On the flip side lies the ever-present threat of financial hell, poverty. To be broke, in debt, unable to make ends meet, society paints the state with dread, akin to damnation. The fear of falling into poverty keeps people in line, much as fear of hellfire once kept medieval peasants devoted. We are haunted by nightmares of losing our jobs, our homes, our status. To be poor in a rich-driven society is to feel cast out, less than, even morally judged. Notice how people sometimes conflate wealth with virtue and poverty with vice, as if the rich deserve their paradise and the poor must have done something wrong to be in suffering. It's a cruel twist on the old Calvinist idea of predestined elect and damned. So we scramble and strive, clinging to the promise of financial heaven. We max out retirement accounts, invest in 401ks, and repeat mantras of grind now, shine later. But this promised land can be as illusionary as any afterlife. Many reach old age realizing the paradise they sacrificed for is not what they truly needed, or worse, that ill health or economic crash has just snatched it away. Meanwhile, the journey itself, the years spent chasing that promise, might have felt like a kind of purgatory. The cost of worshipping this vision of heaven can be a life not fully lived. If we treat our working years merely as a necessary suffering to earn redemption in retirement, we risk missing all the meaningful moments in between. So why does money command such a power over us? Partly because we collectively believe it does. The value of money is, at its core, a shared illusion, a grand act of faith. A quote from one of my favorite books, The Sapiens, states, "Cowrie shells and dollars have value only in our common imagination. Their worth is not inherent in the chemical structure of the shells and paper. Money isn't a material reality. It is a psychological construct." Essentially, in other words, those banknotes in your wallet and digits in your account balance hold value because everyone agrees they do. It's a story, a social construct, just like ancient mythologies were. We don't often think of it this way, but using money requires trust just as much as belief in a deity does. We trust that if we hand a cashier a $20 bill, someone else will later accept that same paper from us for something we need. Sapiens go on to note that the money is the most universal and efficient system of mutual trust ever devised. Remarkably, this trust can extend far beyond personal relationships. It links millions of strangers in a web of belief. But when faith in money's values falters, say during like a bank run or a currency crisis, the illusion shatters and society panics. Think of how markets react to a mere sentiment or confidence. If traders feel uneasy, the stock market can crash. A crisis of faith, literally. Money, then, is only as real as our faith in it. It has no intrinsic value. You can't eat dollar bills or cure illness with gold. Yet we emboost these things with immense power, even spiritual significance. Philosopher and economist Karl Marx understood this well. He noted that in a capitalist society, money assumes a godlike role. He wrote that money is the universal self-established value of all things, effectively turning the world upside down, robbing both nature and human society of their true worth and replacing it with a monetary price tag. Qualities like honor, talent, or love became secondary to the question, but how much is it worth? In Marx's words, money becomes an estranged essence that dominates us, and we end up worshipping this alien thing. It's a frightening thought. An invention of our own making, meant to serve us as a tool, has become our grandmaster. We chase numbers on screens, sacrifice real-world joys for virtual currency gains, and call it rational. But step back, and it's almost absurd. Billions of people toiling and stressing over what is ultimately a shared fiction. This isn't to say that money has zero use, or that it's evil by itself. Money is a useful fiction, a tool that can coordinate human activity on a vast scale. Yet the illusion is thinking that money equals value and that price equals worth. That's the spell we fall into. We confuse making a living with making a life. We know the price of everything, but the value of nothing. When a society worships money, it's no surprise that people begin to measure their very selves in monetary terms. The result is a collective identity crisis. We equate net worth with self-worth. Ask someone to describe themselves, and sooner or later, their occupation and income bracket will enter the picture, as if the money we make defines who we are. In this value system, money becomes a metric of virtue and success. It's almost religious. The wealthy are exalted as winners, modern-day saints of capitalism, while the poor are often stigmatized, treated as if they failed or even morally suspect. This is the new divine judgment, not St. Peter and the pearly gates, but credit scores and bank statements deciding where we stand. Consider how we talk about the ultra-rich in almost reverent tones, hanging on every word of tech billionaires as if they possess some higher wisdom by virtue of their wealth. Meanwhile, society often ignores or even blames those struggling in poverty, much like a religion shunning sinners. Our ego gets entangled in all of this. Many of us derive a sense of pride from a promotion, a raise, a lucrative title, external validations of our value. When the bank balance goes up, we feel secure and superior. When finances are tight, we feel anxiety, shame, or inadequacy, as though our very being were in question. It's an awful burden to carry, the idea that one's life can be weighed and judged on a monetary scale. The pressure to prove oneself through wealth can lead to an endless cycle of envy and dissatisfaction. No matter how much we earn, someone else has more, and if money is the true measure of man, then we perpetually fall short. The ego, hungry for validation, drives us to accumulate yet more in hopes of finally feeling enough. But it's a mirage, a moving goalpost on a horizon that never arrives. The psychologist Erich Fromm once suggested that in societies that have lost a unifying faith, people scramble to find identity through consumption and status. It certainly rings true. Lacking other sources of meaning, many define themselves by what they own. Designer brands, luxury cars, mansions. These become symbols of blessed status, the way a halo might identify a saint in a painting. Social media fuels this, showcasing highlight reels of opulence that invite constant comparison. It's as if the new 10 Commandments read, "Thou shalt earn, and thou shalt convey what thy neighbor posts." Underneath this ego trip is fear of not mattering. We've constructed a world where money can feel like a proxy for love or esteem. This leaves people spiritually hollow. They might have a padded bank account, but an impoverished sense of self outside of their financial success. When a market crashes or a job loss hits, it's not just an economic blow, it's an existential crisis, like a judgment upon one's very soul. It's worth remembering that no amount of wealth can secure what truly matters in the end. It's time for us to wake up. If money has been the new god, consider this a call for reformation, a breaking of the false idol, and a return to what's real. We've been kneeling at the altar of the market, but we don't have to continue this blind worship. The first step is to see money for what it is, a useful tool, not the purpose of life. A means to an end, not the end itself. We can respect money's power without revering it as our master. We can participate in the economy without letting it devour our identity or dictate our morals. Imagine stepping off the hamster wheel of hustle culture for a moment and asking, what am I really chasing? Is it security, freedom, recognition? Are there other ways to attain those? Ways that don't require selling our souls or sacrificing our well-being? We have to recognize the illusion and reclaim our agency. When enough people do, the spell is broken. It doesn't mean everyone quits their jobs in the masses, but perhaps we collectively stop glorifying overwork and material excess. We start praising people for kindness, creativity, courage, not just their financial achievements. We reevaluate what success means on a personal level. Maybe it's having a time to pursue an art, to be with loved ones, to serve the community, to just simply enjoy living. Breaking the faith in money means remembering that we created money, not the other way around. It should serve us, not require that we serve it. Yes, bills need paying and foods need buying. The practicalities remain, but we can shift our values back to center on life itself. Consider the oft-quoted insight from the Dalai Lama on modern humanity. Man sacrifices his health in order to make money. Then he sacrifices money to recuperate his health. He lives as if he is never going to die, and then dies having never really lived. Those words strike at the heart of our predicament. What's the use of a fat bank account if your life feels empty or if you've ruined your body and mind in the process of filling that account? The cost of worshiping money is ultimately life's meaning, the very thing we hoped money would help us secure. To truly live with intention, we have to put money back in its place. Use it, earn it, but do not idolize it. Prioritize experiences over possessions, people over profits, personal growth over portfolio growth. Treat your time and well-being as sacred, not readily exchangeable for a bit of extra income. Recognize when enough is enough. When we're on our deathbed someday, what will matter will not be the digits in our bank, but the moments, the relationships, and how authentically we lived. So let's awaken from this delusion. The next time you catch yourself equating your worth with your wealth, gently correct the thought. Remind yourself, money is a tool, not God. The next time you feel the urge to keep up with the consumerist Joneses, pause and ask if that truly adds meaning to your life, or if it's just a reflex of this money-worshipping culture. We each have the power to opt out of the cult of mammon in our own minds and lives. By doing so, we reclaim our freedom. We can restore faith in things more deserving, in love, in compassion, in creativity, in community, in whatever gives our lives purpose. Banks need not be temples. They can just be banks. Retirement can be a chapter of our life, not the only heaven to hope for. And perhaps we find little heavens in each day rather than deferring all joy. We can choose to step off the treadmill and walk our own path, one of purpose and presence. In breaking our faith in money, we return to ourselves. The idol shatters, and what's left is something far more precious, a life that is lived deliberately on your own terms, rich in meaning if not in gold. That awakening is the real salvation, to no longer be a worshiper of money, but the author of your own values. And that choice, my friends, is one that we can make right now. Let money go back to being a means, and let life itself become the end. The moment we do, the new God loses its grip, and we are free to truly live.